Greetings, everybody. This is Orlando White, and welcome to Living on Purpose. Today, I would just like to share with us this idea that came across my mind, and I have started a book that I would title The Sin of Sameness. This speaks to the idea that whatsoever we consider to be sin, or in other words, an offense or something done against a prescribed way of doing something, whatsoever we do, it has its reaction, whether it happened at the same time or not. Primarily, I would focus on what we do in terms of our health and the lifestyle, and the way we treat others and the environment. The idea behind that is that our foreparents, for example, or those who were before us, they plant trees, they planted trees, and because of them planting those trees, those fruit trees, we are able to reap the fruits today. Now, what happened is that they also have sinned. And my definition for sin there, as I shared before, is something done against the prescribed way of doing the thing. So, any piece of equipment that we buy, for example, we buy a piece of appliance, and what we get with that is a book, a manual containing instructions on how to operate, the things that we should and should not do. Now, a little bit about electronics. We have a 2-pin plug, and we also have a 3-pin plug. Now, the 3-pin plug has more than two connections: the live, the neutral, and the ground. Now, you know, so when them wire your house, there is what we call the ground or the earth wire that runs from your main breaker outside and is put on a piece of metal and stick into the earth. Now, what that does, if you have a microwave, for example, it always carry a 3-pin. Now, what happens is that the third pin, which is the round one, if there should be a fault with the appliance, for example, and it would have shocked you, the user, what happens is that the earth plug take that shock where you would have get and dispose of it in the earth through the earth, through the thing there, through your outlets, the ground connection on your electrical outlet. So my point is, if you take that ground plug off, the equipment does not stop working. But are we compromising safety? Yes. So the idea that because it has no direct consequences, as in a Jamaican terms we say, and on the same day the leaf drop at the water bottom, it ramped. Because we do not have any instant effects, it should not be the case where we're gonna believe that it is okay. So, for example, we were prescribed with a particular lifestyle based on what our Creator, God, has set out for us, because He is the one who made us. And for those who have a problem believing in this being, as I previously mentioned in one of my previous videos, God is an energy. So, whichever angle you want to approach it as, the energy has a certain way of doing its thing, right? Everything on earth is governed by laws. So we have the laws of nature, the laws of physics, the laws of electricity. And what happens if God wants to communicate to us and to operate through us, but the food we are eating is compromising the way the body is supposed to operate, breaking down the standard at which the body should be operating, then we fall into problems. So what happens is that the food we eat will cause various situations like fatigue, right? Not only the food but lifestyle. Cause fatigue, it cause laziness, it cause illnesses. So we find all sorts of problems, and we are trying to save a dollar. So in that case, we decide that, for example, say brown rice and white rice, for example. Now, we hear say, boy, white rice is the bleached rice, or it is the processed. And the further you go away from the source, then the less effective the thing becomes. So in this case, we would have said brown rice is the better one. But us, in an attempt to save money, we go the cheaper way, which is normally not the healthier way. So what we find is that when we go the cheaper way, we end up, yeah, we save some dollar, yes, but what happens is that we have to multiply that dollar what we save and invest it into we health later on. We basically save it to multiply tomorrow to give the doctor. And what happens is that when the complications start, we develop a circulation problem, for example, and we go to treat it. And the medication that we get to treat it will fix this issue, or maybe fix it temporarily, but will also cause another. And what you find happening is that this issue seems to be fixed, yet causing another. And you basically end up in a life where straight throughout the rest of your life, you're living off a medication and living at the doctor and all of that. Right? And it goes on and on till you go from doctor to doctor doing test after test. And finally, them send you around to the different doctors and everybody to get a food off of you. And finally, you reach the parlor. And that is the big spending. That's where the big spending is at. What I'm saying is that, not to say that, boy, we need to stop off at this and start by very expensive, healthy food. What I'm saying is that as closer we can move back to the Garden of Eden, or as closer as we can move back to nature and back to the original way of life that was prescribed for us by our author and our finisher, God, the better life will be for us. What I'm saying here is, if we can substitute some of the contaminants that we are taking in our bodies, we would, in the long run, be spending less and preserving, or even causing those to come to spend less. Because when we mess our bodies up, we get weaker as human beings, and our next generation get weaker. Notice how people back in the day were stronger than before. They were living longer. And when I reason it, my argument to that is the environmental conditions were different. So, for example, the biggest talk of the town now is that how the time is hot. Time is hot. And everybody keep balling. Everybody need AC right now because the time gets so hot, people. And what's the whole cause for that? We know in science that the trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And that is a part of the formula that they use in them whole making of food and all of that. Tell me if I'm right. You know, I'm just trying to recall here. But the idea is they use carbon dioxide. That means they extract it from the air. And what they do in turn is give us the oxygen. So we let off the carbon dioxide, which is waste, and we give it to them. And we in turn take the oxygen which they let off and we use it. So what we find happening is that there are less trees because people are cut down the trees and no one is returning and we are not planting back the trees. So we find after a while the carbon dioxide remains in the atmosphere, and as we hear them talk about the whole global warming, and we understand that there is a blanket surrounding the earth and that traps the heat, and it takes in the sun's energy, the sun's heat, and The whole theory behind it is that it traps the heat, right? And so in turn, the earth gets hotter. So what can we do? I mean, everybody a burn, a burn, a burn, a burn, and all of that is going up and contaminating the atmosphere. Oh, this might sound too theoretic or no make no sense or too stupid. I mean, everybody will do this. Why should I be a hero and try to save the earth like Superman? Try to, I'm gonna bag my garbage and get them to the garbage truck, and I'm not gonna be cutting down the trees and not return. I mean, to some people it's no big deal, but I'm saying that what if our people back then were cutting down all the trees from a long time? What about the actions that they have done that are affecting us now? So, in turn, what about the actions that we are doing now, which will affect our next generation? We need to think about that. Because whenever the body change, I believe the genetics is modified. One can argue that, but if I am weak as a father, and the woman I go with to produce my child is also weak, then that could mean that the child, the offspring of the two weak people, is going to have some level of weakness, or some kind of weakness. And if we keep that going down the chain, after a while, the generation will be utterly wiped out. So what I'm really saying here, people, the sin of sameness, that is to say that whatever we see and copy, we get the same results. Right? So we see that group of people doing this, and we copy the exact formula. Chances are we'll get the same results. So what our parents practice in terms of lifestyle and health and all of that, if we copy that exact thing, then we too will share that same the same benefits that they get, whether it be good or evil. So the same kind of diet, we eat any hours a night. We eat based on how the body prompt us. And so, if we should go back to the Bible, they say if we sow off the flesh, we will reap off the flesh. And what we reap off the flesh is corruption. Now, the wages of sin is death. Sin is not only about fornication and adultery and thief and killing and all them things. Anything that compromise the set way of life based on how God set it, that is sin. So if we, including me, because none of us are without sin, but if I should feed on radiation food, a lot of microwave food, for example, and I eat a lot of junk food, then the reward of that, the wage of sin is death. So, but me not get dead one time. I mean, after a while, the organs of the body, the tissues, will start dying and malfunctioning, and in an effort to correct that, the body will start to do some stuff. So you will find that you will find ulcers, you will find rashes and different signs and symptoms that the body uses to try to adjust itself and to correct these issues. So here we go. The sin of sameness. We grow up seeing our parents doing this, and we do it. So, for example, we grow up say, boy, you fi go to school and get a good education, and you fi get a work, right? After you get a work, the first thing you buy, them tell you the first thing that you buy, you buy a bed and something. So, the idea there, you must owe bills, and I mean, that's what we saw, them owing bills, them having children, and we don't really know what formula them use to devise them plan, or if them do no proper planning, or it just happen and them just work with whatever come. But what I'm saying here is that we ought to, as a people and as a chosen generation, because this is the generation of change, don't forget that. What we have to do as a chosen generation is seek to pre the kind of formula where our parents and our foreparents use for them lifestyle. Look around, be open minded. See how other people, other nations, other generations have lived, and see the good and the bad. And what you do, you can devise your own strategy and way of living. So we see mommy join one partner and you know she have one little dollar put on this and all of that. And she put her money in the bank. So she has saved and feel good interest. But we know in our by you know by our education and all that, just saving, especially in this time, that won't get you far. So we learn saving and investment. So we don't necessarily change the whole pattern of what we get from our parents. But what we do, we put a twist on it based on our knowledge that we get. So as I will close here, because you know, this is just an introduction into what I'm really digging into and really documenting right now, is that we need to start looking into ourselves, start looking into what God really prescribed for us, because everything that we eat affects us in a particular way. Everything that we do to the environment, it affects the environment in a particular way, which in turn affects us. So let us as a people seek to connect, to reconnect to the source. Say, God, what do you want? Check the word. You know, I'm not all getting religious on you know, because religion is another thing, right? But we have to check the whole laws of nature and see how and where we are going wrong. And wherever we can correct it, let us correct it. Not saying that you should start this stuff where you sit on TV and start to follow some people and follow fashion basically. I'm saying wherever we can correct what we are doing wrong as a people. Let us correct it. We are the chosen generation, you know. So we can't make them health and you know, we have to preserve ourselves. We have to allow the the connection, the constant connection between us and nature and us and the Most High. We have to make that remain, right? And improve and increase the signal level. Alright, so sin of sameness, let us not follow the same order where, you know, the people them follow in terms of the negative aspect. Like we can follow the good steps them and leave out the bad steps them. And you know, as far as we can go away from the sinful ways and as far as we can go to the natural, back to the natural way of life. Let us seek to go back to basics, right? We need to get back to the basics of life. God bless, stay sweet, and stay in the spirit. Do me a beg you. Ease up off of the junk food and the stuff them we are make us sick. Less of it. Not to cut it out, but you know, still less. You don't know. If you eat on the junk food and the garbage sometimes, but you know, all of us have sinned. So let us, as much as possible, seek to come back to basics and seek to come back to the prescribed way of life that was designed for us as a chosen people. God bless. Stay well.